Hey everybody, welcome to Leading Thriving Cities. This is our show where we shine a spotlight on leadership in public service, and we have deep conversations about sustainability and how to create a thriving future for our cities. This is a special presentation. It is part 2 of our TCMA episode. That was the first ever live recording of the show. Hopefully you've already seen part 1. If you have not, go back and find that. In part 2, we dive deep into the breaking point of burnout, and they really help us find insight in what they've experienced and how we can start to win that battle. We also have a Q&A portion. We had the crowd throw some questions at us, and they had some really, really good questions. We had some phenomenal answers come back. We hope you enjoy this episode of Leading Thriving Cities. Through all this, whether you're talking separations, whether you're talking natural disasters, you're talking stress. And some of the most stressful things you'll ever navigate, especially things that you're not used to, that they're brand new. And that becomes really scary. And through that time, how we navigate that often determines whether we burn out in the process or not. And so our final breaking point we want to dive into is, how do you deal with burnout? I won't say all from the same generation up here, because I think some of us are from different generations, but for the most part, I think we are part of generations that taught us that success is had by running headfirst through the wall. And if you fall over, you get up and you run headfirst into that wall again, and eventually the wall will fall over. And that was what we were taught. And man, we are so good at it. I got the best parents on the planet Earth, and I will fight anybody that says theirs are better. Right here in front of everybody with cameras on. They're amazing. And they taught me, with hard work, you could do literally anything. If you were willing to work hard enough, you can do anything. And they were right. But they left off the other piece of that, which was until you break. They were not raised to acknowledge that reality, and yet it is a reality. We are limited creatures. We are finite human beings with a limited amount of time and energy and really resilience. And so ultimately, we've got to learn how to navigate hard things in a way we don't burn out, especially as leaders, because how you show up determines how your people go home. And so a lot of this comes to, how do we navigate hard things without burning out? So our last subject is going to be talking through that. So I want to throw it to you, Brad. Let's talk a little bit about burnout. Can you kind of give us an overview of your story that, by the way, we'll acknowledge still going, that it's an ongoing practice and a wrestle and a fight. And so tell us kind of how you've navigated this.
Well, as we talked a little earlier, in 28 years, and I'm fortunate. I didn't go through separations. Everything I did was, I think, this sounds like a city manager, I think I could have stayed at all 3 cities as long as I wanted. Yeah. I don't think there was any problem. But lots of problems that occurred. And I never thought anything about it. Yes, I always hit everything head on. This job fits me better than anything I could have ever done. I love being a city manager. I love solving problems. I love doing all those things, and never thought anything about it, and rocked along for all these years, went through, fought all these lions and tigers and bears, and,
a lot of those out in Texas.
Yeah. I did all of that, and I went through all of these different issues that I never thought of, and I faced them head on. You fought disasters. You had financial issues where you had to lay off 25% of the staff that you loved. You had COVID. You had Erie. You had all kinds of stuff. Everything that everybody in this room has suffered through in some form or fashion. And never really thought anything about it, and started having these problems, I guess to say. I didn't want to go to work all of a sudden. I've never been that guy. I was always first in, last out. I wanted to be there. I wanted to do this. Didn't mind 7 days a week. Didn't mind 26 hours a day. I didn't mind all of that, and never thought anything about it. But I always had time for the family and did all those things. So I thought I was the model, right? And all of a sudden, things started getting weird for me. And I didn't want to get up and go to work. And I kept thinking, something's wrong with me. Something's wrong. I don't know what's wrong. Said something to Mary. I was like, hey, something's wrong. She said, no, I think things are, that's a normal thing. You've been in this a long time. You're. And we just started talking more and more. Well, then I started talking to friends. And Ron Cox, I talked to him one day. I said, I really need to visit about something. And I told him what was going on in my life. And, those of you that know Ron, Bradley, how long you been doing this? And I said, almost 28 years, Ron. And he started kind of chuckling. And he said, I've been following you since you got in this business. And, we've done a lot of things very similar. Both of us started in our late 20s. And anyway, went through all that. He said, I think I burned out. But he never just said that that's what was wrong with me or whatever. And I call it wrong because I still think that it's something that's wrong with me. Chad's heard this before. So as things progressed, I started thinking, I've got to get out of this. I told Mary, I said, I've got to make a change. And we talked about, should we look? I've been in Navasota 16 years. And I mean, it was awesome. An awesome 16 years. And, had some bad things that happened, but we navigated through them. And I couldn't make myself leave. I love that city. I love the people there. I love the job, and I love being a city manager. But over time, I had friends talk to me and say, if you're really interested in doing something different, there's always things in the private sector you can do. And so I kind of started looking into that and thinking maybe I'd do that. And I finally told Mary, I said, I think it's time for me to do something else because I'm going to suffer through the part where I say something that gives counsel the reason to part ways with me. And I didn't want to do that. So nobody else knows what's going on except that few little handful of people. And I go get another job and turn in my papers that I'm retiring. And you talk about shockwaves going through because I was not a person that would tell anybody that I had a problem.
So you had a circle of people around you that you could tell.
Yeah, but my parents didn't even know. I remember Daddy said, "Thought you told me that was the best thing you'd ever done." I said, "It is, but I can't do it." But, so I did it, and, I watched my mayor cry, I watched my police chief cry, I watched all these people cry.
If you made the police chief cry, you're doing something right.
Well, the story is the police chief and I worked together for 21 years in 2 different cities.
Oh, wow.
We're very good friends to this day. Funny part is we've known each other since we were, knee-high to a grasshopper.
I knew you were going to say that. How did I know that was the reference?
I think he invented that, actually.
I think he did.
I'm still knee-high to a grasshopper. But anyway,
there's that optimism.
I went through and did that. And the funny part was those guys are sitting in my office as I'm telling them individually. And my mayor and I were really, really close. We're still close friends. And it devastated the man. And I looked at him and I'm like, I don't know what you're so worried about because I'm not doing this anymore. I can't do it any longer. And I walked out with that attitude. That's not really my attitude. Some people in this room have heard me say it. I kind of felt like a failure. And, it kind of kills you, because we're all pretty proud. We think this, but I just couldn't put up with it, I didn't think. any longer. And Hugh Walker will tell you, he called me to come to work for him, and I did my darndest to dissuade him of that. But I gave in. But I don't know. I still can't explain a lot of things, but it was so hard for me to go to work and do those things. And the question I've asked myself, and I've asked some of you in here, nobody's given me the answer yet. Maybe Chad will give it. Because Kevin says it, you know, sometimes when you move, you don't have that, I don't know, there's enough change to make you maybe not get into some issues that I got into. I didn't want to change. I still live in Navasota for a reason. I love it. I love that place. It's my, you know, I've called it my home. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if I had moved, had I taken a different job as a city manager in wherever, would this happen? And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that, but it's kind of something that really has made me think over time, because there are days that I still say I want to be a city manager. And then a city council.
And I think this room would like him to be a city manager, right?
There.
That's enough,
You don't get a vote, sir.
But then I talk to a citizen, a city council member, whatever, about issues and stuff, and I start thinking, I don't know if I really want to do that anymore, you know. But the problem solving, the fixing things, the development of staff, you know, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world who was able to go to 3 cities, develop tremendous staffs in all 3 cities, mm-hmm. Develop a great network of friends, mm-hmm. and you still feel like something's missing. Mm-hmm. Nothing's missing. I can tell you that. Nothing is missing. But
so let me ask you a question.
Goal, I guess.
You said it felt like failure, mm-hmm. that you had to say, hey, this is not for me anymore. Mm-hmm. How would you have defined success? If failure is stopping, what would success have been?
I think in my mind, it was going to be, you know, I did meet the goal of being the longest term city manager in Navasota, but I wanted to go 30 years mm-hmm. as a manager and retire as a manager in my mind. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't make myself do that because of, you know, and you kind of brought up PTSD, and you know, I don't like to use that term, but I think that's what it was. It was an accumulation. Jack Harper told me this, you know, when I called him and I said, look, dude, I've got to get out. And he said, you know what this is? I told him everything. He said, it's an accumulation of that gas issue that I had at 27 and everything else that happened all through the years. And I didn't talk about any of it, even to Mary. I mean, you know, I just did it. It was my job. It was fun. I was doing it, and you didn't talk about it and you didn't do anything about it. And then all of a sudden, all of that weight just crushed down on me, and I didn't know how to handle it. You know, we are not supposed to crack. Mm-hmm. We are the rock in the storm as city managers. We hold everything together. We keep everyone moving in the right direction. You know, we're not rowing in a circle because we're all making everybody row in the same direction. And that's what's cool about what we do. But the part that is the toughest is that some of us can't talk about it. Mm. And we don't tell people what hurts.
Yeah.
And I did not. You know, I could joke about a lot of things. I could do it, but I didn't tell people what really hurt. And some things I didn't even tell Mary because I didn't want to burden her. You know,
you were being that you're the thing that has to sit there and not crack. Like you stand in the gap.
And I fix everything.
Yeah.
You know, my wife always said, you know, you don't have to fix everything, But I feel like I have, and I think a lot of y'all understand this. You feel like you fix things. That's what you do. And I always felt like I could fix it, and I could fix me.
There it is.
And I fought and I fought and I fought to fix me without the help of anybody. Because I wouldn't tell anybody till I called Ron. But I wouldn't do it, and I couldn't do it till I broke.
Yeah.
And got out of it. I miss it, but not enough to go back.
He said, I miss it. Okay.
These
First of all,
conversations are so important because it's okay to not be okay.
yeah, it's funny. We did the mental health panel yesterday, and there are 2 to 3 times as many people in this room as in the mental health panel because we didn't put mental health in the title of this. But really, you are meant to stand in that gap. This is the sacred nature of the work, and we have a definition of burnout, and it's very simple. Burnout robs you of the capacity to align with your purpose, to do your most sacred work, and to enjoy life. It slowly, and you encountered it as a sudden thing, but really, I promise you over years, it was chipping away. That capacity just to enjoy things. And something you hit on there that is so profound is we're fixers. And man, we can fix anything. You cannot fix yourself. You just can't do it. I don't care how strong you are, you're lying to yourself. We are sitting in this room today because I tried to fix myself. It didn't go well. And it was not until I was willing to say, I need help. It was not until my family was staring me in the eye saying, this isn't working. We can't do this anymore. I dropped the Texas Tech thing. I'm so sorry. It was
There will be a penalty assessed a little later.
I will pay the fine. It was not until I was willing to say I need help that anything started to change. And it's an ongoing thing we find because there's some of you in this room I have called and said, I need help. To this day, we're always on that journey, right? We're never done with that. And that burnout robs y'all of the capacity to do the most sacred work and to enjoy showing up every day.
Well, and I think the other thing that I noticed after I finally admitted that I was burnt out and that I needed a change, and I hope, Mary and Kayla and Kyle are not in here, but I would hope they saw the difference when I finally did it, because I would catch myself, I would be quick to anger, quick to, jump on things. And I do feel like right now I'm totally relaxed.
And totally clothed. We just want to be
Totally
clear.
clothed,
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a call before this that was like, hey, what's the dress code? And his was, well, do I have to wear a shirt?
Yes. 100%.
My boss is proud now that he's but I think it made me change too. It made me, many of you know I love to fish. I don't claim to be a good fisherman, but I claim to be a good person that goes fishing a lot. But I started doing it much more and enjoying it more. And Mary will vouch for this, that if a week goes by that I have not fished, I may be ill. But I think that there are certain things that I didn't do in my life. I didn't go see my parents enough. I didn't miss a thing my kids did. I never, ever, through all of this, missed anything that those kids did. Now, I may have gone back to the office for 12 hours after the event, but I didn't miss it. And I'm proud of that. But, I moved 20 years ago. I moved 500 miles from mom and dad. And I didn't go enough, I've tried to make up, but I don't know. It's, we can't can't fix ourselves. You're right. But it did make a difference when I finally admitted that the time had come that, you know, this bottle of wine was ready to open, I guess. And it was time to say, okay, you can stop. You don't have to do this anymore. And I look forward to the day that I stop completely and just go fishing and play with the grandkids and the kids and come to this for fun. This is for fun, but not feel obligated to do certain things whenever I come, except to sit and talk to y'all and tell you my story, especially you young people. As many of you know, I love to tell you the stories. And I usually tell you the good ones that came out. And some of you, Emily, you heard the bad today, but
There's something that I would love to link together. So something that Brad said and something that Kevin said earlier. And y'all have both talked about the importance of relationships and our family. But I want to connect what Kevin said about that to your comment on how we are the rock, right? The waves break against. And when we don't have our own network or our own outlet or path to where we can be the waves that break, we start to fail and we start to break down. And if any of y'all have heard me talk about this before, my own little journey was, and I was in a very long-term marriage where I did not have a supportive spouse. And for what we do, that's detrimental. And then if you add kids into the mix of that, my God, that's a really difficult situation to be successful in professionally, mentally. It's just not a healthy place. And to have the types of relationships and the types of spouses where we can go home, and my husband now is the rock that I break against. I get to be the waves that break. And I looked at him earlier, he's back there nodding going, yeah, I'm the one that can fix everything, because that's his personality. And in certain ways, we probably
Except
don't.
himself. We're clear on that, right?
We
made
probably
that point.
don't.
Okay.
We probably don't mix well in that regard. But we have to have those types of relationships where we can go home and break, or we can call our network and break, because our community, our council, our peers, our staff, our leadership expect us to be that rock. But we can't always be that rock, and we have to be able to have that outlet. It is so important. And when we don't, we break.
right.
I think you hit on something really profound there. You said our council, our staff, everybody expects us to be that rock, and so we have to be. That doesn't mean we have to be 24/7.
That's right.
Right? We need those times when we're not, because we can go on vacation and not be the rock. We can go fishing and not be the rock. We can go places where cell phones don't work and not be the rock.
Highly recommend.
That is my new life goal, just so you know.
But
And by the way, you can go any place. I just want to throw this out there as a pro tip that you're not paying for. You can go any place, and if you turn your phone off, same effect.
I had no signal.
It works.
So I've told a lot of people this, and there's still people in this room that understand this, but this is the worst thing that ever happened to city management. No joke.
I'll have to
My
agree.
wife will say this over and over and over again. When I was a first-time city manager, I'm not as old as James Fisher, but I'm pretty old. But I didn't have a cell phone. And so if I left on vacation, I gave them a number to call, or I would call in, but that was it.
I can't fathom that.
Yeah, I know. You and a whole bunch
I have
of
only been in this profession where we are available 24/7, one way or another.
But the really worst thing was the BlackBerry, because you got your email
I had a Black-
and all.
I had a-
But now you get texts and everything else, and there's an expectation that you're there 24/7. And I'm going to tell you, that is hard, and it becomes harder and harder for you as a manager to turn it off because of the fear of the repercussions of not answering right away, or of not being available, and those things. And I did a horrible job at this until I hit the wall. I still answer it pretty regular, I think.
Okay.
But I'm not as quick to answer. And if I'm on vacation, I usually don't. I'll answer Hugh, but part of that's because we're friends. But and I'm not going to leave him high and dry. But I mean, I'm not. If a council member texts me today and I was on vacation, they're going to wait till I get back. Now, I'm also not in the same role. But I'm telling you, these are awful. And they need to go away to make our lives better.
Here's the thing is, those technology's never going to fix this. Eventually, we're going to have to learn to set some boundaries and to have the courage to say, guys, here's why we value leadership health. Here's why we value disconnection. Here's why we value our teams. Here's what's going to happen when I'm not here. We got an incredible team. I'm going to respond when I can. It's going to be real slow. You're going to get a faster answer when you call my ACM. Ultimately, we've got to learn how to do that. And I'll tell you, there are examples of that. It is starting to happen. If you're on LinkedIn at all, Austin Blease is prolific when it comes to LinkedIn content. He just took, I think, a 5-week sabbatical, completely disconnected. And as far as I know, Jersey Village, Texas, still there, didn't burn to the ground. It's okay. We've got to learn to start having these conversations because, God willing, there are many, many more years of public service left for Brad Stafford. God willing, there's many more years left, but burnout is the only thing that will stop that from happening. It robs us of that capacity. So we've all got to, I think we're on this journey together. All of us have to learn how to manage this and do this because the way we've done it before doesn't work. It clearly does not. There's so much data to back it up. And the fact, I always make the joke that in public service, it is not really built for sustainability. And so somebody starts this journey, man, they can't wait to serve. That's why they're here. And they finish that journey and they're the most miserable human being. And that's the people you're clapping out the door, not because you're proud of them, but because you don't have to deal with them on Monday. And every time I make that joke, people go, ah, and they are picturing someone in their head because there are multiple people that we have experienced that with. And part of this is figuring this out. It's going to be learning to navigate this. Listen, I appreciate these conversations. I appreciate y'all's vulnerability. We do want to leave some time for some questions. So let's jump to that. Do we have Emily's with microphones? Get on over here. Here's what we're going to do. If you have a question, raise your hand. Don't start talking until somebody hands you a microphone because we want to record this and we want to be able to hear you. So who's got a question for any of these, what did we say earlier, seasoned? Distinguished.
And just to be clear, family are not eligible to participate, correct?
Except for your wife, who I think was going to be here and cheering you on. Who's got questions for these folks? Raise your hand. I'm going to start calling on you because I know you guys. Right here. Let's bring a microphone over here, Emily. What's with so Texas Tech, but Hawaiian themed shirts?
Yeah, aren't they cool?
That's fascinating. Well, yeah, they're cool. Yeah.
At least we match.
You do match. I like that.
And we won.
And
There you go.
and to be clear, you won.
Guarantee.
We don't know if it was the shirts or not, but you won. Okay, it was the
definitely the
shirts.
shirts.
All right, your question, sir.
Kind of based on what Kevin was talking about. You talked about, unpopular decisions. So how do you prepare yourself for those unpopular but necessary actions as a city manager? And then how about holding back on these popular actions that are unwise?
That's good.
Well, obviously you have to be certain in your facts that what the direction you want to go is the right direction. You have politics involved. Want to make sure you're in a as sure-footed a position as possible. But ultimately, if your timing is as best as it can be, and you've informed everybody that needs to be informed, and you have to pull the trigger, your job is to make the best decision for the community and the organization, regardless of the personal impact on you.
let me throw something in there. Someone who's never managed a city in his life. I think there's something to, we mentioned earlier, holding this job with an open hand. I think if the goal when you start the role of city manager is, I'm going to be here forever, you're closing that hand and you're eventually going to get hurt. You hold it with an open hand. I'm going to do the next right thing and we'll see what happens. But I think also the more we do this, the more we really dig into burnout. Identity is a huge piece of this. Can you be sure in who you are and confident in who you are to say, I'm going to do the right thing. Whether you like it or not doesn't change that I'm okay. I'm enough either way. You fire me, you keep me, I'm enough. That's a huge piece of this. The more we're doing this research, the more we're finding that's going to be a lot of what we got to figure out. And so over time, you kind of develop that, okay, I'm good, but we don't start there.
And I think if you don't have that self-assuredness,
Yeah.
you run scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you're going to be afraid of, who's going to be upset, who's going to go after me because of whatever I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Then maybe add a couple of things. All that's 100% correct. This idea of hold it open hand, closed hand. If the goal is, okay, I got this job and this is the one I wanted. This is where I wanted to be. And I'm going to be here till whatever, 20 years, 30 years. You are unintentionally putting in the back of your head that you are going to bow to certain pressures and you're not going to honor your professional obligations to make the right decisions. And that's tough. There are no two ways about it. We can't say anything to make it different. But that's tough. So you've got to keep that open hand. It doesn't mean, man, I hope in 2.5 years I've made everybody mad and I'm out the door. It's not at all what I'm suggesting. Just know that if you've got that in a death grip, these various political pressures, the community pressures, whatever's going on social media, if we turned off Nextdoor, this profession would get better overnight.
And Facebook.
And Facebook. You're going to have a little nagging voice in the back of your head that, well, I know I ought to do that, but do I have to? Because if I don't, it's going to end. You're not going to make your best decisions, and thus you're not honoring your professional obligations, and you're probably going to end up out the door quicker.
And it doesn't mean you ignore those conditions, but you have to be smart in how you
You have to do it. You have to do it right.
We have to be able to live with ourselves and sleep at night. And if you don't have a true public servant's heart in our profession, you're going to struggle. And you have to have that conviction for yourself. And if you do, and it's coming from the right place, even when it's hard, the right decisions are easier to make.
Somebody told me at this conference that the softest pillow is a clean conscience.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easier to live right.
Well, and I
I
think
didn't know where that was going.
I think that another piece of that is you gauge every decision, and it's not your city, it's their city, and you gauge your decisions, and you do what's best. And sometimes what's best is not always popular, but in your mind you've got to do these things for the benefit of the city, and sometimes we choose to leave, sometimes we choose to make others leave, sometimes we do other things. But if you gauge it, you have the conversations. I jokingly told somebody today there's no secrets with Brad Stafford, but today y'all found out there's a lot of secrets that he didn't tell people. But as far as that goes, you have to be upfront, especially with your elected officials.
Some people will be susceptible to this more than others, but I think if you find yourself in people pleaser mode, that's a sign you're not in a position to really do the right thing steadily. Because I was working with a city manager the other day and we were talking about being in people pleaser mode. They made a list of all the negative ways they show up or the negative actions they take when they're in people pleaser mode. And it was a pretty good sized list. And so that doing the right thing, we're not going to please everybody. So that mode is going to stop us, I think, a lot. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Who else has got questions for us? Raise your hands.
I appreciate y'all being up here today. And I can say that Brad Stafford been a big help to me when I was first in my career, one of the first people I had to talk to and say, how the hell am I supposed to figure this out? And he goes, oh, this is easy. And
Proved me wrong, didn't it?
yeah, he did say it was going to suck, but he said it was pretty simple, and he wasn't wrong. And so a lot of us have benefited from Brad, and we appreciate you, man. I think what my question is, when you feel that, if you've gotten to that point where you feel burnt out, and you do shove it all the way down inside, right? How do you turn on? How do you flip that switch from I can figure it out on my own to I better start asking people and saying something out loud?
I don't know if I have that answer because I didn't do it. I have talked to several people at this conference this year, mainly because for the last few years I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about anything that got me to the point with a lot of people. But I started thinking, and when I got asked to be on this, Jarrett interrupted my vacation. Again, I answered my cell phone when I shouldn't have. But anyway, it gave me, that's the first time I met Chad. And, I said, I don't know why. I don't know if it's our West Texas connections or what, but there was something that made me feel like I could just vomit on him.
Figuratively.
And I did. And I think he made me understand that what I have gone through helped. So that's why I've made it intentional to talk to people about what happened a little bit more. But as far as answering your question, I would encourage everybody in here, find somebody to talk to. I don't know who that somebody is for you. I admit it, I didn't even tell Mary for a long time. And I think a lot of prevention could have been put in place, but I just think you have to find somebody. I don't care who it is. I don't know who it is, and I don't know who to tell you to go to, but you got to find somebody. And I've offered it before, and I'll offer it again. I don't mind listening. I'm not going to give you an answer because I don't have an answer, but I can tell you what I did, so you can know what's wrong anyway.
I think one of the unfortunate parts of all of us sitting up here, the reason that we're up here is because we've had those moments where we've broken, where we let it go too far. And I'm actually going to give a little shout out to Serena. These conversations are uncomfortable, but you just got to do it scared. Do it scared. Start talking to people. If you already have that notion in your mind, like, oh no, I don't want to burn out. If you're already thinking about it, you need to be talking to somebody about it.
Yeah. Don't wait.
Hey, we call this breaking points because you're eventually going to be forced to. That's the reality of it. You can either do it a little earlier and save yourself a little pain, but eventually life is going to force us to ask for help, or it's going to kill us in the process. Those are the two choices we have. And so when you're facing that, you eventually have to just decide, how much pain do I want to go through before I say I need help? And every bit of this, we talked about identity, man, every bit of this goes back to what we're taught about strength and weakness. We are taught that it's weakness to say, I'm standing in the gap and I've got cracks and I need help. And the problem is that takes so much strength. I don't know how you could be weak and have the strength to say I need help. Those two things don't line up. It's the strongest thing you can do. And if nothing else, I eventually had to do it for my family's sake, not for me. If you're leading, if you're a city manager in this room, if you're an ACM, if you are leading another human being on this planet, you owe it to them to have the strength to say, I need help, because I guarantee you, you're affecting their lives. When I was burned out, there was nothing my family was experiencing that was good. It was robbing them of joy, just like it was robbing me of it. And so I think there's something to serving others and knowing that that is strength. But eventually we're going to have to either way. One way or the other, we're going to figure it out. Thank you for that question, man. I appreciate that.
One other thing, I told you I noticed a couple of things about myself. Here's something else, and I know all of you probably would find this weird about me, but it became easier to sit in my office. Mm-hmm. It became easier to avoid people than to talk to people. and that has never been me. Guarantee you, there are people in this room can tell you that that's not me. You're one of them. It can tell. But I just noticed that it was just real simple to go in there and avoid people.
Yeah.
And that is not Brad Stafford, but it's where I was. And that should have scared the heck out of me, but it took a long time before I figured it out.
It's so funny you say that was not Brad Stafford, because what you find is burnout creates a different version of you. And people experience a version of you that is not you, who you are at your core, at your best. And that's the version that then goes and wrecks everything for everybody else. And so I think there's something to that. But we need you out of your office. We need you connected to people.
Oh, yeah, I'm there now.
I like
Probably
it.
too much.
Thank you for that question. I appreciate that. We got time for one more over here.
Okay, well, thank you. So I've been part of leadership programs for about 10 years, and so I really do appreciate y'all opening up and being authentic and sharing your stories. A lot of y'all have spoken about the importance of having the network and why associations like TCMA is so critically important, and for that mental health component. And part of it, when y'all want to fix yourself and fix others, but it's that tool, like the tools that you have. So outside of the network, do you have any specific tools that you do maybe on a daily basis that you can pass on to others on this is how you stay focused, stay grounded, address that anxiety that might come up at that moment in time? I know one of my personal ones, it goes to yours, is I have 5 people. And this was therapy back in 2017 when I was doing $1 billion bond package and everybody said it was going to fail, which we passed. But it was, the therapist had said, you just need to trust 5 people and they can change. It doesn't have to be the same 5 people. And that has helped me more times than I can count. So that's my contribution, but I'd like to hear y'all's.
I'll jump in a little bit on that. This is a people business, really. We all got here because maybe we were good at some particular something or many things, but it's a people business. We do all our work in front of a city council, in front of the public, in front of a staff. I mean, we do all of that. Everything that's been said about a network, and this is the best one, it absolutely is to me, been doing it a long time. Have another one and step, to me, speaking of how I feel it, when if I'll just stay 1 hour later, if I'll have one more meeting, I'm going to solve this. No. That's that whole thing in my life about just doing the same thing over and again and expecting a different result. Step back.
Insanity?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You got it. Insanity. To me, it's step back.
Yeah.
That may just be, all right, it's Friday afternoon and it's 4:15 and I've done the same thing over and over and we haven't fixed it. Go get in the car and leave. Have something to do that's not this. That's not this.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. So of all of the 5 of us up here, I think the person that can probably relate to this the most is Chad. It's really counterintuitive when you think about how much of a people person profession we're in. Guys, I don't like people that much. I am
Love y'all, to be clear.
Yes, the
Present
people,
company excluded.
the people that we have in our circle. Our core people, yes, we love those people, but inherently, I'm super introverted. I'm a hermit. I'm not overly social. Things like this take work. What I enjoy is going back to my hotel room and disappearing from everyone. That's how I recharge. And I think we're all different. All of our personalities are different, but you have to find whatever it is for you that recharges you. And for me, that's stepping away. And I've gotten very, very good at saying, like last night, you want to go to hell at the moon? No, I don't. I'm going to go.
Is that a thing you do or a place you go?
It was a place you go.
Okay, gotcha.
Both.
That's true. Well, yeah.
Why not both?
It's you've got to find whatever that is. It may be the 5 people. It may be a hobby. It may be fishing. It may be disappearing and disconnecting from everybody. But I think we have to find what works for us.
Yeah, I do like to fish, but I also like to just work, like not this work. I like to get out there, tear something up, build something, grow something. I'm just an old farm boy that got lucky and got a job in a city and that I loved. So I love to go back and get my hands dirty and just do those things. And sometimes that, it takes you away. It's my Calgon. Takes me away.
You just
Some of you got
dated
it.
yourself there.
Some people got it.
Listen, it's a phenomenal question, and whatever the thing is that we do, what we're really talking about is intentionality. It's being intentional to make sure we don't burn out. It's being intentional with our actions, being intentional with our circle and the people around us in our lives. And we recognize when we're not doing well. And it's seeing that and going, okay, it's strength to say I need help. It's strength to invest in myself. I'm similar. I'm the most extreme introvert you're ever going to meet in your life. I actually have a deep love for every single human being in this room. I know a lot of y'all personally, I love you so much. Boy, I hit a point last night. I was like, nope. I have had 3 days of peopling and I'm done, like from 7 a.m. to midnight. Okay. So I went down to Ruth Chris Steakhouse last night intentionally, and I sat alone and I read a book and I ate a great steak. And I was in bed by 8 o'clock. And
Fantastic.
It's amazing, right? But that intentionality to say, hey, I knew we needed to do this today. And this has been a ton of work and a lot has gone into this. And I knew that the version of me that existed about 5 o'clock last night was not going to, if I just kept doing what I was doing, was not going to do it well. So let's be intentional. So I think for every one of us, it's spotting when you're not doing well, what are those intentional actions? And it can be spiritual practices. It can be physical things you do. Whatever it is, it's what is my next choice? And is it going to orient me towards health or away from health? And if you can be intentional with those things, over time, you're going to defeat burnout. And this is not a journey you're ever done with. I get paid to teach this stuff for a living, and I do this stuff every day to take care of myself, because when I don't, it goes off track real fast. So I just want to close out with this. Man, we love y'all, and we love what y'all do. You genuinely do sacred work. All 4 of these people up here are changing people's lives with everything they do. That is true of everybody else in this room. You have signed up for a journey where you are meant to impact people's lives. But if you don't take care of yourself, that journey is going to end way before it should. And so I just want to encourage you to take care of yourselves. We need you doing that sacred work. Before we get out of here, I want to thank a few people. First of all, I want to thank Jarrett Atkinson, who's, I hit the thing again. Clap for Jarrett. Listen, Jarrett has been my favorite person to poke fun at, and I appreciate him for being willing to do that. Thank you for your wisdom.
We all have a role, and that's become mine.
Punching back is Jarrett's. Kevin, thank you so much for sharing, man. I really appreciate your vulnerability. It means the world. Let's have a hand for Kevin. Sara Costlow, thank you for managing this whole thing and making this happen. You're the first one I told, hey, what if we did a live recording? And you were like, that's not the dumbest idea I've ever heard. I deeply appreciate that. Thank you, Sara, for sharing with us.
Happy to be here.
And the lovely and talented Bradley Stafford. Thank you for being here, brother. We love you. We appreciate you. We want to thank TCMA for letting us do this. It was a weird idea. We've never done this before. And they were like, yeah, let's give it a shot, see how it goes. So we want to thank them. I want to thank personally my team, the 2 Emilys. I could not do anything without the 2 Emilys. I describe my job as the dancing monkey. They're the ones that tell the monkey when to dance. And so they do a phenomenal job. John, Porchlight Productions Vineyard, Alec helping out the assist day. Let's get a hand for them. And thank you to every one of y'all in this room for joining us for the first episode of Leading Thriving Cities Live. We love you. Go have a great conference.